we'll also talk a little bit about the difference between being an entrepreneur and working for somebody else. I might even get into a couple of things about how you can sleep better at night, losing weight. All of those things have to do with leadership. And I'm going to tie it all together for you today and share with you. So stick with us on how you can accomplish these things. Because when you start looking at the leadership principles, when you look at leadership as an entity, there are certain things that we have got to be aware of. And when you do that, it's the same principles and the same mindset that takes place in other things in our lives, like losing weight, like sleeping better at night, or the difference between being an entrepreneur and being a manager that works for another company. So let's take a look at this. First thing we want to start off are what are regionally known as the most effective leadership styles. There's like 8 different leadership styles, and we'll kind of tackle into those at first. The first being kind of a democratic leadership style, and that is that's something that basically comes from a participative leadership style, where you're getting a lot of people's input and ideas. We see that in a lot of companies where they get the input from other people. It really involves a leader getting other people to help them set the goals, and then getting their input before making the absolute final decision. And the next one is autocratic. That's kind of just as it says, leader's going to make the decision. Laissez-faire leadership, well said. And then we'll talk about transactional leadership. That approach is it's offering incentives for effective performances. It's throwing that carrot out there constantly, being there. So you do this, I'll give you this. You do that, I'll give you this. Then there's the charismatic leadership. The charismatic leader is, who is that? That's that flamboyant person that usually not really good with attention to detail, but wow, they walk into the room and, everybody just puts their eyes on them. And then transformational leadership, that's a style that I've always really admired, because that person seems to be able to take that turnaround person. You can turn an individual around, you can turn a company around, you can turn an idea around, you can turn around a lot of different things. Servant leadership, it's the total satisfaction of the employees. We'll get into that a little bit more later on. And then bureaucratic leadership. It's by the books. It's, it's just the way it is. Hey, this is the way we've always done it. This is the way we're going to do it. This is the way that it's spelled out. We're going to follow the letter of the law. So those 8 styles we're going to take a look at. And then we're going to look at the Dale Carnegie Human Relations Principles, the leadership principles, which in our class that we teach, the skills for success, it's principles 22 through 30. And those things are like beginning with praise and honest appreciation, or calling attention to people's mistakes indirectly, and talk about your own mistakes before criticizing others, ask questions instead of giving direct orders. As you can see, those 8 leadership styles kind of blend in with the principles. So I don't know which came first. I mean, Dale Carnegie's company has been around since 1912, so it's, as of October 22nd, that's 109 years. And, I don't know when people started formulating methods or thought process in writing for leadership styles, but we're going to take a look and blend those things together today. One of the other things I would like to talk about quickly is upcoming classes, because we're also going to talk about what happens over 8 weeks in a Dale Carnegie class. What are some of the things that you do? Why do I see these posts, Bob, on your Facebook page and your Instagram page and your LinkedIn page of these people doing crazy things, and what is the methodology that goes through? We're going to touch on that also, because each one of those sessions has a purpose, and we want to see what that is. We do have classes coming up, by the way. January 25th will be the next start date, and we have 2 areas that are starting those classes. One is Gainesville, Florida, at Hotel Indigo at Celebration Point from 6 to 9:30 p.m. And the other one is in Jacksonville. The World Financial Group, I like to call it the Center of Educational Excellence, because Bill Barnett and his team do financial education throughout the day there, and then we come at night and teach the Dale Carnegie class. Those 2 areas, they both start on January 25th. Also have some ideas planned for classes in Lake City, Florida, Valdosta, Georgia, another one coming in Tifton, Georgia, one coming in Douglas, Georgia. So we're going to be very busy in that first quarter of 2022. And if you're interested in getting involved, you can register right online. It's very simple. Just go to jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. That's jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. And when the home page comes up, you'll see that there's a register here button. It says Jacksonville, but when you click on that, it'll take you to a page that you can select the area of your choice. So you can go to Gainesville if you want, or you can go to Jacksonville, and in the future, we'll have the other cities on there also. So it's really important that you sign up early. So would love to see that. So today's show, let me recap what we're going to be talking about. We're talking about leadership styles, how the principles work with that. We'll touch on losing weight, getting more sleep, having a different attitude, all based on the same ideas of leadership. Maybe we'll throw some other things in there too. We'll also have our relentless pursuit of success individual. Now today it's a team. It's not an individual. So we're coming to you live from the Coaches Podcast Room here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill at Celebration Point. I'm Bob Ganzak. This is MotivationU the Podcast.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your fault.
No,
I am calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky.
Welcome back to MotivationU the Podcast, here from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, inside the Coach's Podcast Room at Celebration Point on this incredibly rainy Thursday morning. A couple of things about you can find this podcast anywhere that you go to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, every place, Facebook, YouTube, so many different places that you can find your podcast. You can get this one there too. And you can send us notes, ask us questions. Anything that comes to your mind, please just go onto Facebook, go into the comments section, ask a question. I'll try to get you the answer. If I don't have the answer, I'll get it to you. If you ever need to get a hold of me, two best ways are through two different email addresses. RTG@MotivationU. That's the word motivation with the letter U, like you see down in the corner of the podcast here. So it's RTG@MotivationU.com or bob.ganzak@dalecarnegie.com. Either one of those avenues that you can do that, you can get a hold of me. And if you're interested in sponsoring the program, please contact me there. We still have room for more sponsors. We love our relationship with Celebration Point, Meldon Law, Dale Carnegie Training supports us all the time. So if you would like to get involved in that also, I'd love to have you be a part of it. So today's show, we're going to discuss leadership principles. Now, what I centered on was Howard Schultz's, the former CEO of Starbucks, his leadership ideas and thoughts. If you search it on your computer, you'll find many different blogs on leadership, and all of them are about the same. This comes from his master class. So I really wanted to take a look at that and dissect some of those. So the 8 most effective leadership styles, and there's a lot of different styles. There's blends of these, and people have their own personal way of doing things. These are just ones that have a name on it, and we can discuss them. And the first one being, as I mentioned earlier, a democratic leadership style. This engages the person into the decision-making process, which can boost group morale, as Mr. Schultz said, and job satisfaction and engagement. It's really one of the things that we know about employee engagement is that their drive and the level of their engagement is tied directly to, number one, their relationship with their immediate supervisor. Number 2 is a little bit lower, is belief in senior leadership. And then number 3 is pride in the organization. Now, with millennials, there's been added a 4th item into that. And I don't say that as I'm directing that at millennials. Since we started studying younger people, we also see that work-life balance is vitally important into those original 3 things. So there is a 4th, yet still it's the relationship with your immediate supervisor that drives the biggest part of your engagement. So if you're working for a democratic leadership type of style, you're going to be given the opportunity to be engaged. It doesn't mean that you're going to be engaged. That's your choice. That's not the leader's choice. That's your choice. Yet if they give you that opportunity to have input in the decision-making process, then that can lead to a little bit more engagement. Now, not everybody wants to. There are some people that just want to show up, do their job, and go home. And that's okay. So this leadership style might not be the most effective for all individuals. Yet, for many, it is a very effective leadership style. Now, what type of principles can work with that? Asking questions instead of giving direct orders. That's one of my favorite, my favorite principles of all of Mr. Dale Carnegie's principles. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. I would say if I had to look back at my leadership style over my lifetime, probably developed more into a democratic leadership style. Sure, there were times that I had to be, autocratic or something else because you have to make that final decision. Yet, really, that kind of was the way I went about things because it was driven by that principle to ask questions instead of giving direct orders. I wanted that input. That's why in week 2 of our podcast, when I had Coach Steve Spurrier on, he kind of shocked me when he told me that, he listens to his players. That was a big turning point in his career as a coach, is when he wasn't telling them anymore. He was getting their input. As he said it, they're the guys on the field playing the game. I'm just watching them. They need to have input. So that's kind of always been my leadership style. It was difficult in the radio business for me to make a decision sitting in my office versus the lady or the man that was on the air for 4 hours, listening to the phone calls, getting the input. Now, you had to filter through certain things of, their own personal choices. Like it usually came to playing music. We should be playing this. I get a ton of phone calls. Define a ton, please. Is a ton 1? Is a ton 1,000? What is a ton? Okay, let's log those phone calls. When you log those phone calls, what do you think we'll find out? So there was a lot of ways to work through that. It wasn't just taking somebody's thought process and saying, hey, let's run with it. Boy, that would be disaster, wouldn't it? So that is the democratic leadership style, and that's the principle that I see that goes with that really goes along with it. The second leadership style that was on that mastermind list was an autocratic leadership style. The leader makes the decisions unilaterally without consulting any other group members. Now, it's just, this is the way it's going to be, that or authoritative style, right? Where is this healthy? I'm not sure. If quick decisions need to be made, boom, you're going to make it, right? That's where we're going. Decision time. You're sitting in there, a phone call comes in, you don't have time to consult with your partner. You don't have to. You've got to make a decision. There's a reason that you are the general partner, the person that owns the most of the stock in the company. Now you got to make that decision. Boom, here we go. What principle goes along with that? I would say it's probably not in the leadership principles. When I looked at that, it maybe down the road there may have to be some repairs because you made a decision and you didn't consult somebody else. So then you may want to apply that principles with your partners or with key managers or key people. Maybe something like letting the other person save face, which is an important principle in leadership. I would think that you could probably apply it in this type of an instance where you gave them the opportunity to have input after the fact or let them gracefully say that they had input in it. I'm not sure how you would do that, yet that was the only way I could see that. The autocratic style, is it needed? Yes, it is. A lot in sports, a lot of times you got to make that final decision. There are times where you have different people on your board, and it comes down to one person where the board is kind of split. got to make a decision to move. That's what you're paid for. Risk reward, you make too many wrong decisions in those quick decisions, you're not going to be looked upon as favorably. Now, if you go on a win streak of making good decisions, it probably is very beneficial to where you are at that time. The next is the laissez-faire leadership. Now, I don't want you to think that this is a soft leadership or that there is no reason for it. A lot of individuals, even millennials or Gen Xers, think in the boomers world, or let's go back, the greatest generation of all time, the people that were born, at the turn of the century, not this one, the one before. Those individuals that said everything had to be tough, General Patton, that type of an attitude, whatever it was, just that hardcore, usually male-dominated, competitive, that leadership style. They look at this as being, soft. Yet there are reasons for it. When you have a hands-off type of leadership approach, you've delegated the responsibility. You've turned the ball over to your manager, let's say. You've got to let them do the job. If you have delegated that authority, you've got to let them do the job. When we look at creativity and innovation and that type of a development of those people under you, this is that principle. This is that principle. It helps people develop their thought process, their innovation, their creativity, and it's not necessarily soft. When you have self-motivated people, when you have people that work for you that want to be engaged in their own passions and interests, and it's parallel and synonymous with the things that you're trying to do inside your company, this is a great leadership style to have. Think about that. You're developing people, that laissez-faire. You make a decision, you give them the opportunity to take the ball and run with it, and then you let them do that. It's an important part of it. What principle? You can use a lot of those, but I look at use encouragement. Make the fault seem easy to correct. You're not telling them what to do. You're not even asking them questions. They're going to make mistakes. You don't want to derail their machine. You don't want to get the train off the track. Use encouragement. Let them know that you went through that. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing them. And I would challenge you, don't even criticize them. Talk about your own mistakes. You've been there before. It brings a vulnerability to you. So that's a key leadership style. A lot of people incorporate that. And why is this important? If you work in a company, you can identify the type of leadership that is being portrayed within your organization. You can also understand where you need to adapt or adopt if you are a leader. Maybe you can try a different style. Okay, I have 30 people on my team. Do I use the same style with everybody? No. Sometimes you have to use different techniques and ideas. Transactional leadership. That's the number 4th one. This is, let's say you're looking for specific things. You've got a sales goal that you must hit this month. You must hit this sales goal. You go out and you get some gift certificates or something, and you start laying out for your sales team, hey, you hit this mark, everybody's going to do this. You hit this mark, we're all going to go here. If we hit this mark, of course, you've built in the cost. If we hit this mark, we're going to take a 3-day vacation as a team, go someplace. Whatever it is, it's that transactional thing. You do this, I'll give you this. You do this, I'll give you that. And it's usually over and above, which, and praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. being lavish in your praise, and that is something you want to do. Those high fives, those thumbs up, that's the principle that you want to use. Be hearty in your approbation. Be demonstrative. Let people see that you're excited about it. Get up on the table and jump and yell and scream and be, that's that type of transactional leadership. That's what it takes, because you're trying to drive individuals to set higher goals, achieve it, you're going to give them something. Make sense? Okay. So when we come back from the break, we're going to tackle the last 4 leadership styles. And I promised you we'll even touch on some other things like losing weight or, I don't know, maybe even getting better sleep. We'll also look at some do's and don'ts of leadership, which I found very, a lot of fun. And then talk a little bit about curiosity over judgment, how we sometimes tend to judge our employees instead of turning that mindset into curiosity. We can really spend some time in doing that. So again, you can find this podcast like 39 different places. Have they improved that, Evan, to like 40 yet? Rhetorical question, my friend. But YouTube, Facebook, write us notes, ask questions. We'll answer those. We'll have some fun with it. When we come back from the break, we're going to tackle those last 4 principles. Coming to you live from the Coaches Podcast Room here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors, the greatest place to watch tailgate upstairs Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. Any day when they're open is the best place to be, is upstairs. Have dinner down here, go upstairs, enjoy some sports, and mingle with a lot of great people too. So we're here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill at Celebration Point. This is MotivationU, the podcast.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere.
If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your fault.
No,
I am calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady, he might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky.
Welcome back to MotivationU the Podcast, coming to you live from the Coaches Podcast Room. And that coach is Coach Steve Spurrier, because we're inside of his restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill at Celebration Point. If you ever would like to get down here or up here or over here, Celebration Point is at exit 384, right off I-75. it's a phenomenal place. Svein Dirkelbotten and his crew that have put this facility together, and it's expanding and growing, is just absolutely incredible. I saw Svein the other night, and just what a great person. And then inside of this complex, there's movie theaters and retail stores, restaurants, and one of the crown jewels is where we are sitting right here, which is Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And it's a farm-to-table restaurant. I mean, things are fresh. You don't find anything here really frozen. It's fresh, everything. The coffee, Opus, let me tell you, incredible. And Andrew Johnstone brought me a cup just before the show went on today, and he's the managing partner here, general manager, the man that makes things happen. Really fantastic, just fantastic. So that's where we are. And this is MotivationU the Podcast. And we do come to you on 39 different platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast. Speaking of Overcast, it's storming outside. Facebook, YouTube. Send us questions. Go to Facebook. Just search in. Send us a question. We'll get the answer for you. And also, don't be afraid to like us or follow us, subscribe. Be a part of this, because what we do in this show is we search for leadership ideas and thoughts and people who are not the Elon Musks or the individuals that, are looking at becoming trillionaires. Think of that. Think of that. That is, we get caught up in that concept. Oh, he's going to make $500 billion this year. I can't be, he must be an incredible leader. I'll tell you what, incredible mind, I bet you can find 50, 100, 1,000 leaders in your communities across this country and around this globe that are as good, if not better, than that individual is as a leader. And that's what we search for. That's what we search for. Those individuals that are making a difference in people's lives every single day. Maybe they're not making the difference at Tesla. Maybe they're making the difference at Dollar General. Maybe they don't have a $1 trillion company. Maybe their budgets are, $100,000 a month of sales. Yet they're making a difference in people's lives that live on your street. So if you're into the Halloween stuff and you're sitting on your front porch and there's kids coming up to you, it's their moms and dads that are having their lives made a difference in because of strong leadership in your community. Those are things that we do on this show. If you want to be a part of that, please join us. If you have somebody that you would like me to interview on this show, to bring them on, if you know a great leader in your community, send me their name. I'll go reach them out and bring them into here and talk to them. Next week, I hope to have a gentleman that runs a furniture store in Georgia that has gone through incredible challenges, health, family, fire, just so many different things. And the perseverance that goes through and the difference that he makes in people's lives is amazing. So that will be next week's show. So back to our leadership styles. Again, these come from the former CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, leadership. The fifth one is charismatic. That charismatic leader is that individual that just lights up a room. We've all met them, Yet sometimes those individuals, they get they get a bad reputation. Or I should say an unfair reputation, not bad, but unfair reputation. Because they say, oh, they just get you with their charm. But it's directed. I mean, they are that type of a person. They channel that within themselves and use that in their leadership style to make that happen. The worst thing you can do as a leader is try to be the person that you're not. So when you can find that within you and then channel that, that's that charismatic person. They inspire the members of their team. They really get them to be part of that group. Why do some coaches and athletes rise so far where they're great position coaches and yet they don't get to be that head coach because they don't have that ability to move the whole group? They can teach certain technique, and that's important for a position coach. Yet the ability to lift the team to another level, it takes a little bit more charisma in order to do that. That's what that is. What are some of the the principles in Mr. Carnegie's world that live up to that? Give them a fine reputation to live up to. When you are this dynamic and you are that way, it does attract other people. It's kind of like a magnet, and you take lead and you shave that metal, put a magnet to it, it goes to it, right? That's kind of the same thought. The next one is transformational leadership. That style is, it wants to improve or transform the business, the company, or the individuals that work for them, where they really are those people that can walk into a situation and turn it around. And turn it around not just for the short period of time, but for a long period of time. They focus on that big picture rather than the minutia of management. They are able to see, well, we've had 2 bad years in a row in this company. I can come in and help you turn it around. And they don't worry as much about some of the little things that are going on a daily basis, because they keep their eyes on the big picture that I've got to make decisions to turn this whole thing around. It's kind of like a huge ship. And if I was driving a small boat, I can spin that boat around pretty quick. If you're driving a big yacht, it takes a lot more space to do that. And you have to look at a lot of different things. When I'm driving the boat, it's just basically turning the wheel. I'm not as concerned about it because the things that are challenging me are within my sight immediately. Whereas in that transformational leadership, you've got to look at a large part. That big yacht, you've got to look at boats that are way outside maybe your area of vision. So it's really important. The next is servant leadership. That person that serves and satisfies their employees above all else. They believe that the professional and personal fulfillment of their team members will ultimately take them to a higher place as a team. So that's what they focus on, the development of their individuals and their skills and their fulfillment and that way. And that's, make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest. That's one of Mr. Carnegie's principles, principle number 30. When you can do that, when you can make them happy about that, boy, they just keep on going because your focus is just on them. Their happiness is important to you, and you want to get them there. Their fulfillment, let's get them to that place. And the last principle, the last leadership style is the bureaucratic. That's the person by the books. This is the way we've done it forever. Robert's Rules of Order, this is the way it's going to be, and we do it that way. I sometimes think about, I think about the royal family in London, that they run that way. It's been this way for forever, and this is the way it's always going to be. And we've noticed over the last few years some individuals' family members, who have challenged those rules have been like cut out of the family. They're cut out because they're going to stick to their bureaucratic style. So what principle works in that area? I'm not always sure that there is one that is by that books, but I look at the one that says use encouragement and make the fault seem easy to correct, because this is the way it's going to be. We're going to do it that way. Here is the way it's going to be done. So if you make a mistake, it's easy to correct that. So those are some of those things that we do. Question coming to us from Facebook. What are the best sources to learn from when it comes to leadership? Well, the best sources to learn from in my world is I look to the Dale Carnegie Leadership Principles, because what it does is it builds from the beginning, building rapport, gaining cooperation, and then leadership. Though there's many other ways. I've watched a lot of podcasts or listened to a lot of podcasts that John Maxwell's been on. Great Leadership Mind. He's got a lot of similar ideas, though, as Zig Ziglar. Now, why do I say that? Well, when you go back to Zig Ziglar, you go back to Dale Carnegie, because he was a Dale Carnegie graduate, and a lot of the things that he does comes from our basic foundation. Change the words around a little bit, different things. So many of the leadership styles that we look at today can be found in Dale Carnegie's principles that were starting to be formulated in 1912, 109 years ago. Now, don't get me wrong. Dale Carnegie was a gentleman from Missouri, a young man. He didn't sit down one day and say, well, I'm going to write How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's not how it happened. He started developing things and interviewing people and writing down ideas and thoughts from other people like the Rockefellers and the Andrew Carnegies and the Roosevelts and those individuals, and started compiling all of these principles, these leadership ideas that he did the research on and had other people do research. And that brought the book out, How to Win Friends and Influence People, in the mid-1930s, which really was the staple and the beginning of talking about leadership. So, long answer to that. When I give the answer that it's Dale Carnegie kind of pushes that in my way as far as leadership, that is because a lot of the other leadership styles and ideas and thoughts feed back to that, because before that time, there was no guide. And that's the reason that Mr. Carnegie wrote the book, is because he was searching for some type of a manual that he could use for his classes, and he couldn't find one. So he developed one. So hope that answers your question the way it is. Let's talk about a couple of do's and don'ts. Some do's for leadership. Set a clear and compelling vision for your team. Keep the plan visible. That's important. Listen more than you talk. 2 of these, 1 of these, try to use it in that proportion. Give credit for reward. I mean, give credit and reward success. When people do good things, let them know that. Also get to know the person behind your employees. If you work in an organization where you have the ability to get to know your employees, get to know the person behind it, not just the person that shows up to work. Ask some of those questions. Communicate with your team, even when there's no news. Communicate. That's important. They need to know that you're a person too. Try to eliminate barriers that stops work from getting done. As a leader, if you can analyze and take the time to really look at your world, try to do that and eliminate those barriers. Some of the don'ts, we tend to look for people doing wrong, not doing things right. Try to get out of that habit. Don't be looking for people doing things wrong. Again, talk more than listen. That's wrong. You want to listen more than talk. If you only care about the results, that can be a problem. And if you only focus on the profits, that can be a problem. You want to focus on the process that build to those problems. So those are some of the things that I want to talk about today and share with you, those principles. Another part is I said at the beginning of the program that we would talk about what happens during a Dale Carnegie class, the 8 weeks that go on. We start first night by helping people connect with other people. We teach you a process to do that. And then we build into how much memory is extremely important in your world as a leader, to have a good memory and how you can develop that. Then we go into building confidence and starting to build rapport, and then teaching people how to give directions. Now, I don't mean how you get to the neighborhood grocery store. I mean, in work, how do you get people to walk down the line of things that you need to have done? Those are all important things. And when we get into week 5, we're talking about how do you have those disagreements with people and not get emotional? How does that happen? And we talk about that. And we work on stress between weeks 3 and 6. And in week 6, we really bring that all together and really have a great session on how we're combating stress and dealing with that. And we learn how to inspire and how to give appreciation to people. And then we in week 8, we really culminate the entire 8 weeks with a celebration of success and looking back on what we accomplished over the last 8 weeks. So that class is extremely energetic. All 8 weeks, it's just an incredible thing. Most of the thing, Evan has said it to me many times, that our engineer and production manager right here, is it went so fast. It just goes like that. 8 weeks are done. 2 months, boom, it's over. And you think, wow, gosh, I wish there was another few weeks. I mean, it was a lot of fun. So that's what we do in the Dale Carnegie class. So, go to jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. Go ahead and register and join us in January 25th, right here in Gainesville, January 25th, starting in Jacksonville. And you can find classes online, too. You're going to get the same experience. I like to think that when we're in a room together, I can give you a little bit more experience, but, online, you're going to get that experience. Now, I kind of babbled on at the beginning of this program today and talked about how something like losing weight or sleeping better could be tied into leadership. Well, everything starts up here. And let me share it this way. If you're a leader, and depending on your profession, for many of us, you've got a decision to make between being an entrepreneur or working for the corporate world or building your own corporate world. But that's being an entrepreneur itself. So there's differences. Like my daughter works in corporate America. My son is a pure entrepreneur. My daughter, she worries about her business, her company all the time, yet there is a time that she can shut down. My son never shuts down. That is the price you pay. My daughter works for a group of people that kind of regulate when you can take vacations, when you're going to work, when you're not going to work, what your hours are going to be. My son makes his own hours. When he can take off, what he can do, and what he can't do. One of the things that makes me very proud of him is a variety of things, and very proud of my daughter also, is that he's scheduled into his day every day to have lunch with his wife and his daughter. I think that's cool. That's a great idea. So that is kind of the difference. If the entrepreneur kind of pushes the envelope too, You know, they take risks. They live in day-tight compartments. They don't worry about yesterday. They got to deal with today and build for tomorrow. And that can churn in your stomach and your stress. It can really get to you. If that's not for your world, then maybe you need to go work for somebody. That's what you need to do. If that is your world, then look into that. Okay? So, okay, Bob, then how does that help with losing weight? Again, it's all mental. It's the mental side of it. I have people that come to me and that I coach that say, I want to lose weight. Okay. Here are the 4 areas we're going to look at. How much do you eat? When do you eat? What do you eat? And why do you want to do it? If your why isn't big enough, those first 3 won't be done. So I have people log what they eat, everything they eat and drink for an entire month. Before we even meet, before we even work, I have them log that. And then we go back and look at it. What do I see? Well, I eat dinner at, 9 o'clock at night. Not good. Not good. That's not giving you enough time to think of it. If it's 8 hours to digest that food, when is it really in the heat of being digestive, like 3, 4 in the morning? I mean, you're not moving. You're not burning off any of that food that you ate. You're not even walking around the house. So you got to be careful of that. That's the when. How much? Well, I'm eating good, healthy stuff. Well, you look at the package, and there's maybe 14 helpings in the package, and you ate the whole package. So it's healthy. There's only 270 calories in that package per serving, and you ate 14 of them. That's 14 times 270. Do the math. That doesn't work out to being healthy. So you have to cut down your proportions. You have to eat less. What are you eating? That's important. I always put it third. What are you eating? Are you eating healthy things, fruits, vegetables? What are you eating? And then your why. Why do you want to do that? So we'll work a lot on that compelling thought. A lot like leadership. Those are the same thought processes you go through in leadership. Let's take it to sleeping. I have people come to me and say, I can't sleep. Well, we do the same thing. Give me 30 days. I want to know every single thing you did from the time you came home from work. I don't want to know what went on at work. Just the time you came home from work, when you walked out of the office until you went to bed for 30 days, every day. Every day. Talk to me about that. Write it down and log it. I'm paying you to do the work. Yeah. You're doing the research, and we're going to talk about it. Well, what do we find out from that? Guess what? You like watching television more than you like your kids. What do you mean by that? Well, you spent 105 hours the month watching television. You spent 2 hours with your kids. Let's reverse that. Why don't we shift that around into something else? So there are challenges. And again, it is your why. Is your why big enough? Those are the same things I do in leadership. Tell me as a leader what you've done over the last 30 days or the next 30 days. I want to know every meeting you have, every place you went, every phone call. Log everything you do for 30 days, even on the weekends. And then we're going to start tackling that. And again, your why has to be big enough. You want to sleep better at night? Eat earlier. That's one thing. Right? Eat earlier in the evening. Turn off electronics. The light from those electronics do affect you. Get used to meditation or reading or quiet times. Noise, constant noise, is going to keep your blood pressure going. Find places in the evening where you can settle down, where you can calm down, where you can put a stop on your day. It ends here. I'm not going to let the motor mind or that monkey mind that constantly goes and goes and goes. I'm not going to let it get to me. Find ways to do that. But what people do is they do the old Einstein theory of insanity. They do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. Does not happen that way. You've got to change the things that you do. And that is what I try to help people do. So if you come home, let's say you come home from work, and the first thing you do is you plop down on the couch and flip on CNN and sit there and watch, 2 hours. And then, if you get home at 5:30 and you watch CNN until 7:30, and then you decide to make dinner, and you make dinner, and that takes an hour, then you're eating at 8:30 to 9 o'clock, well, you've thrown yourself off. Let's just shift that. When you come home, take time to relax. That glass of wine that you usually have at 10 o'clock, maybe have it at 5:30. Maybe sit down, have a conversation with your significant other, your spouse, your children, or whatever it is. Take some time to unwind. Have an earlier dinner. Then if you want to turn to the television for an hour and a half, designate it. Discipline yourself. Put it up here. I'm going to watch TV from 7:30 to 8:30. Record shows. If you have a dish, get the hopper. Get whatever it is that records the DVR. Record your shows and watch them. Learn how to use the remote control. You can fast forward through commercials if you need to, if you're doing it in a shrinking time. Do those things. Learn those things. It'll make a change in your life. So many people say, I don't know how to use the remote. How long have you had the TV? Oh, about 8 years. You don't know how to use the remote? Come on. That makes your life easier. That's why they design those things, to make your life more effective. So if you want more of these informations, get a hold of me. RTG@MotivationU.com. RTG, motivation, the letter U.com. Share your thoughts with me. I'll work with you. I'll help you out. Spend 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, takes you to get to that point. But those are some of those things. I promised you I'd give you my relentless pursuit of success. This week, it's folks here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. I'm in here like a few days a week, during the day when they're not open. There are people here. They're working, they're grinding, they're planning, innovation, cleaning, smiles on their face, energy in their hearts. That's the relentless pursuit of success. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, this week's recipient of the RPS. Great show. I loved it. I hope you did too. And if you have any questions, send them to us. We come to you each and every Thursday, 11 o'clock in the morning, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill at Celebration Point Coach's Podcast Room. I'm Bob Ganzak. For Evan Miller, our incredible producer, this is Motivation U, the podcast.